welcome back to the NWA 1983 project. I'm your host, Lex G, and with me, as always, is Matt Riley. How you doing tonight, Matt?
Ooh-wee, let me tell you something.
Stop watching Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, million difference. Ooh-wee.
So in today's episode will be a large, huge, closed-circuit event. It'll be live from Orlando, Florida. This event is called Kingdome Come. So I believe Orlando is appropriate because it is WrestleMania weekend. So happy WrestleMania weekend, everyone. So today was the Hall of Fame. I thought the show was really, really good. We'll talk about that in a second. We're also going to talk about... So in tonight's episode, you will see Dusty Rhodes taking on Kevin Sullivan inside of a steel cage. You also will see Jack Briscoe take on Harley Race for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. We're going to talk about Florida Championship Wrestling. But first, tonight being the Hall of Fame, we're going to take a few moments out to discuss the Hall of Fame. Just got done watching the show, and I thought the show was fantastic. Little heavy on the gimmicks, though. And we'll go through each induction ceremony, each induction speech as we go on. The show started off with Eric Bischoff inducting Diamond Dallas Page. So, Matt, what's your opinion on DDP?
Well, I think he was a fun wrestler to watch. I remember him back in his Bad Company days.
Was he manager at AWA?
I remember when he first came on board. And then he was, he managed a couple of different teams. Freebirds for a while, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And then he just kind of came out on his own. And at first, I was kind of like, what? But then, you saw him in the ring. He did a good job. He was great in the mic. There's a good yoga service now, so that's good going for him. It really is, good, kind of come out of nowhere. So he was a lot older than most guys that start.
He started training at 35.
Yeah.
So he was a year older than me. So there's still hope for me, folks.
There you go. Any day now. Turn this thing around.
We did see Diamond Dallas Page, managing the Freebirds, Bad Company, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Scotty the Body, who was Scotty Flamingo at the time.
Yes.
But then he transitioned to a wrestler. Then he had, for someone who, started so late and he only had a few matches underneath his belt at the time, he had really good matches with fucking Johnny B. Bad. Like, those matches are pretty good.
Yeah.
And Johnny B. Bad's a shit worker, so there you go.
Just don't hold back on Johnny B. Bad. Come on, man.
He wasn't good.
Tutti frutti.
He was.
He sucked.
Yeah, he does.
Sorry, dude. Sorry to all the fans out there who love Johnny B. Bad, but
he doesn't have any fans. But eventually, he had those great matches with Randy Savage. He had that great match with Goldberg. I think a well-deserving Hall of Fame bid for him. His speech was pretty good. Anyone who was Diamond Dallas Page would think that he would have went on for like 4 hours, but he kept it pretty brief, pretty short. Overall, he did a good job with it, so nice to see. DDP, the hardest working man in wrestling. And he's a feel-good story because if he can make it, anybody can make it.
Yep.
He's got to put in the work. That's what it comes down to. And be clear of injuries.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's one of the biggest things is if you keep out of the injury area. I mean, I can talk about that.
Yeah.
I always like the fact that he did put the work in, and he was different. Like the Diamond Cutter was fun. The Bang thing kind of got old after a while, but it's his thing, so everyone's got something.
Yeah. And once I heal up from my multiple surgeries, I'll be testing the waters with my DDP yoga. So next up, we had Jim Cornette inducting the Rock and Roll Express. Now, hell must have froze over because as much ill will as Jim Cornette has had for the WWE over the last 15 years at this point is well documented.
Yeah.
So we never thought we would see him back, any kind of involvement in WWE, but this would be the exception. He actually stated that. He was like, the only way I'll do the Hall of Fame if Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express can get in. Cornette was on fire. Great induction speech. It was awesome. Classic Jim Cornette. Anyone who listens to his podcast or seen any of his shoot interviews or any kind of the other documentary work he does knows what to expect from Jim Cornette. So it was fantastic. The Rock and Roll Express, they were really funny, and you saw a lot of personality from Robert Gibson for one.
Really?
So that was good to see. And I'm pretty sure that Ricky Morton was high on cocaine. So that's good. He kept on getting lost, and he would just walk around the the stage.
Nice.
But I just recently watched a Rock and Roll Express match, I think from a couple of months ago. Fucking Ricky Morgan was hurricane running people and hitting drop kicks and shit. So I think they have another run left in them.
There you go.
There you go.
One more run.
There it is. They can feud with the Revival. I'll call it a day.
One for the thumb.
I have a smelly thumb, but that's for other reasons.
Oh. Did they bring out Jimmy Valiant to talk about Table?
No. Although I have to go back to like the induction ceremony from 1995 when he got inducted to the Hall of Fame and see if he brings that up. After that, we had next up we had Ravishing Rick Rude, who got inducted by Ricky Steamboat. Ricky Steamboat's not known for being the best talker, and he proved that yet again during his speech.
No.
It was okay.
Did he mention his wife and kids?
They're divorced now.
The family unit. Oh no!
Yeah.
The family unit's broken up?
I know.
Wow.
I heard his wife was a real fucking bitch too.
Oh, poor Ricky Steamboat.
Like she was his like shoot manager, and like he wasn't allowed to use the dragon because she copyrighted it.
What?
Yeah. And I still think she gets a percentage of his appearances.
Oh,
Bless her heart.
poor Ricky.
Ravishing Rick Rude's son come out. He is probably the most handsome man on the face of the earth today. I don't know why this guy's not in modeling, because he's a handsome dude. And that might sound weird, but I don't care. I call it how I see it.
Hey, yeah, he's a handsome dude. He's a handsome dude. What are you going to do?
Like, he's just candy for the eyes.
Sometimes you just tip your hat and go, I was a little fondle, buddy.
That's a good-looking man right there, my friend. He's the same voice as Rick Rude, too, which is awesome. And I know that Vince and Shane and Stephanie was like, hey, I wonder if this kid can work.
Well, here's the thing. When he started his speech, he'd go, what I like right now is for all the fat, out-of-shape pigs in the audience. No, he didn't do that?
I know. I don't want to spoil it for everyone.
It'd be great if they did that and they cut to Stephanie. Like, what? like I always loved the one year at the Oscars or Golden Globes at the In Memoriam.
Yeah.
And they put John Lovitz in there, and he was in the audience like, what? I'm not dead. That was the best look. Did they do that, by the way? Did they do it in memoriam?
They did do what they call legacy inductees.
No. I mean, like, an actual video, like, the people they lost in the past year.
No.
They should do that. I mean, every year, last year, a lot of wrestlers have died anyways.
I mean, they didn't want to spend fucking 3 hours on it either.
Entering hour 3. We've just got to George Steele. Getting hungry.
So what are your thoughts on Ravishing Rick Rude?
Oh, Rick Rude was one of the best. I loved him. He was a great bad guy. He probably, of all the guys, deserved a world title run.
He did have a world title run. I know everyone says it doesn't count, but he beat Ric Flair for the World Heavyweight Championship. That happened in 1993 in WCW. I get it. He didn't beat Hogan. He wasn't WWF champion. I understand. But fuck.
Really? I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, you have to go back and watch your Fall Brawl 93, buddy.
Oh, who wants to watch that, though?
It's a good show. If you had the WWE Network, you probably would have watched it 9 times already like I have.
It's dark times indeed.
Actually, Rude was heavyweight champion when he got hurt and in his career.
Wow.
Yeah. So, there you go.
Oh, Rick Rude.
And he's hitting, like, he was really... Like, we thought he was good in WWF, and his WCW run was better.
Was he a heart attack?
No, I think he was an overdose.
Oh, shit.
It's funny, his name is actually Rick Rude. Like,
yeah.
That's his real name.
That's the best. What's your game going to be, son? Rick Rude. No. What's your name? Rick Rude. Well, shoot, boy, you got to have some kind of name. Can't just go out. Oh, it's your name.
So, he died from heart failure. The autopsy report showed he died from an overdose of mixed medications, which probably most likely mixing painkillers with alcohol.
These guys, man.
I think he had just turned 40.
Yeah, he was young. Dick.
But in terms of worker in the ring, fantastic. Carried fucking Ultimate Warrior to good matches.
Yeah.
Had great matches with Ricky Steamboat. Those things are fantastic. If you have not... I know a lot of people... WCW sucks. Go watch some Rick Rude, Ricky Steamboat. Tell me if it sucks. Dickheads. I mean, I don't understand why he didn't have a feud with Randy Savage, because that's the most obvious thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
Rude lusting after Elizabeth, Macho Man getting all crazy about it. That's perfect. Yeah. Had like one match with Hogan, but they never had a feud. Hogan didn't like working with him because he felt that Rick Rude was a little too stiff for his like. He liked to work with Paul Orndorff, which probably Paul Orndorff was probably more stiff. So it was weird.
Yeah.
He had beef with like Rude had beef with a lot of guys. He had beef with fucking. He knocked out the Ultimate Warrior backstage. Like Rude was legitimately a tough guy.
I know. Why you knock him out backstage?
He fucking Warrior probably did something stupid to him. I think he punched Sting too. Like, he's just a badass dude. Like, would you want to fuck with Rick Rude?
Not really.
Like him and Kurt Hennig, who went to like school together, would just like terrorize their entire school. I heard a story that Rick Rude was beating up grown men at 12 years old. I heard that. I think John Nord said that. Rick Rude went to the same high school as Tom Zenk, Brady Boone, Nikita Koloff, Kurt Hennig, John Nord, and Barry Darsow.
Crazy.
So there you go.
Now, is that because all the wrestlers, their parents were wrestlers too?
Well, they're all from Minnesota.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Hennig's second generation, but the rest of those guys weren't. Zank wasn't. He was barely first generation. Brady Boone, who was awesome, underrated talent, probably one of the most underrated wrestlers ever. Nikita Koloff. I like Nikita. Kurt Hennig is awesome, obviously. John Nord and Darsow, underrated worker. I liked him as Crusher Khrushchev. Not so much as the Repo Man. And not so much as the Stuart Payne, the golfer. He was in WCW.
Oh, yes.
Long overdue for Ravishing Rick Rude, my opinion.
Yes.
So, there you go. Next up, we had Eric LeGrand, who some of you should, most of you should know, was the Rutgers football player that got paralyzed. That was a big story because, obviously I live in New York. He received the Warrior Award, which is like a award given out to people who do like charity work and that kind of stuff. So the Ultimate Warrior's wife, Dana Warrior, presented him with that. So that was cool to see, and it's a great story. He's talking about his relationship with Triple H and how they became friends, and that was pretty neat to watch. Next up, we had the Legacy inductees. Hayes Stax Calhoun, Dr. Jerry Graham, Farmer Burns, Toots Mont, which I'm surprised he went in there because of the relationship with the McMahons. But
who?
Toots Mont. Toots Mont was the other owner of the WWF.
Oh.
So there you go. Ricky Dozon, which we talk way too much about on this show. Bearcat Wright, Judy Gable, June Byers, and Luther Lindsay.
Now, could we see Toots Mont Jr. show up and be like, no, I'm going to run NXT?
That'd be awesome.
It would be. It could be a total work and no one would give a shit. It'd be fun to watch. Then get Rod McMahon in there.
Rod McMahon, the missing McMahon brother, yes. He's real.
I know.
He's real.
It makes it so much fun.
So those are your legacy inductees. Those are usually wrestlers from the early days of professional wrestling that obviously they can't induct because for whatever reasons. Although I'm pretty sure I thought the Grahams were in there already, but because that's Jerry Graham, the Graham brothers. So it's Jerry Graham, Billy Graham, Eddie Graham, and Luke Graham.
They're all brothers?
Kayfabe.
Oh, all right.
Fucking A, dude. Next up, we have Holla Holla player Teddy Long. He was inducted by APA of JBL Ron Simmons. And I'll tell you this about JBL. I know I constantly shit on his commentary. I know this. He's likable otherwise. He has a show on the network. He has a Legend show on the network, which is fantastic. And while he was inducting Teddy Long, he was awesome. I just hate him on commentary because he's a shtick and it's stupid. Like, why can't he just be that? Just do that while he's on commentary. I would tell him that, but he's fucking huge. It would kill me. So what are your thoughts on...
I think my favorite Teddy Long memory is one of, it was Clash of Champions, one of the pay-per-views where he just gets absolutely murdered and thrown out of the ring.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he just as a referee, he just gets killed and, tossed aside. I enjoyed his work to a degree. As the commissioner stuff, I was kind of like, oh, man, not again. But, I think he's been the pre-show. 9 years he was commissioner.
9 years
Or
he was
GM.
general manager of SmackDown.
Yikes.
Now, Teddy Long is an interesting story because he started out as, kind of a gopher, a driver, moved up to ring attendant, went from there to driving the ring truck and setting up the ring, moved on there to refereeing, and eventually became a manager, back to refereeing in the WWF, and then a manager again, and then general manager of SmackDown. So he had a fantastic run. I mean, I do love when he... They used to call him Peanut Head in WCW.
I remember that.
That was a chant. That was awesome. Manage the Skyscrapers and Doom. Did fantastic. I really love. There's a not often talked about the Doom versus Four Horsemen feud.
Mm-hmm.
That was cut short because they had to reveal that Ric Flair was the Black Scorpion. So that got cut short.
Yeah.
But that feud was awesome. So that was good to see. But overall, his speech was really good. Again, he was gimmicked out, wearing loud clothes. He had like a red suit on. He was doing his little dance. Said the holla holla, and then made a tag team match at the end of it. So, so that was awesome to see. Up next, we had Beth Phoenix. What are your thoughts on Beth Phoenix?
Beth Phoenix.
I mean, yes, we all know that she's delicious.
Yes.
I knew a girl named Delicious in my high school.
Oh boy, that's a story.
Yeah.
Was she related to Beth Phoenix?
No, she was related to a girl named Crystal, but she demanded to be called Crystal.
Oh boy. Yeah.
That's a whole different scenario.
Well, I will say this. I liked Beth Phoenix because she was sort of the next China.
Yeah.
But without the she wasn't over muscled. She just was powerful.
No, she looked feminine. So.
Yeah, and she was, cool. At least, she seemed to have a good personality. I saw her stuff. I never heard bad things about her.
Oh. I thought that her career was cut short. I'm not really sure why.
I think she got hurt, didn't she?
It's possible. I don't remember
I think it was
offhand.
a sprained ovary.
No. She has like 2 kids.
Busted hymen.
That's happened to me a couple of times.
That's right.
But, her she was inducted by Natalya because they are best friends. I think Beth Phoenix had the longest induction speech of the night.
Oh.
So she went really long, which is fine because she's competent at making speeches. So no issues there. Did a little gimmick where they had Tony Chimel to introduce Edge as her husband because they are married. So that was cool to see. And she thanked everyone from Alpha the Wild Samoan to Eve Torres.
Did Edge plug his sci-fi movie?
No.
Show.
He's not allowed in sci-fi anymore.
Oh, no?
Yeah.
Not allowed or not on?
He's not allowed.
Oh.
They said he was too Canadian.
Sorry.
And then to wrap it up, our final inductee in the Hall of Fame was Kurt Angle. So what are your thoughts on Kurt Angle?
Oh, Kurt Angle was one of the wrestlers that I really enjoyed. And one of those guys, a lot of my friends, we just incorporated his shtick into our everyday lives. Like, well, who was the champion last year? Oh, it was the Bruins. Really? Oh, it's true. It's true. Just stupid shit like that. The milk, you suck. He did a really good job of playing the tone deaf bad guy.
Right.
The sucker, whatever.
A guy trying to, essentially his shtick was he was the kid trying too hard to be cool.
Right.
And you ended up just hating him.
Yeah.
Which he played that role perfectly. He was inducted by John Cena, who got his mixed reaction, and a Miz chant broke out, which was nice to see.
Really?
Yeah.
They were just chanting The Miz or just Miz?
Yeah, no, I think they were just chanting Miz.
I'd love to see Miz win. I'm a fan of The Miz.
Also, to speak of mixed reactions, every time they showed Roman Reigns on TV, they booed him. So there you go there. John had a short but good speech, and then Kurt Angle came out and really gave a impassioned, a really good speech. And he was, talking to town like, don't be afraid to try things, or don't be afraid to make yourself look ridiculous. So on that note, he pulls out the little cowboy hat, puts that on, pulls out the wig with the wrestling head guard, pulls that out, and then he ends, says his thank yous, and then ends it out with a. Now they call it a beer bash for Austin, so this would be a milk bash for Angle, where he clanks the two bottles together and the fucking milk goes everywhere, and he drinks the milk and it gets all over his suit, which is really nice to see. To me, Kurt Angle is probably the most natural pro wrestler. When he got on TV, he was only he only had a year worth of training and not really any matches.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone other than Dustin Rhodes was a natural. Like, he was suited for professional wrestling, understand the psychology, understood facials, crowd reactions, and then could work in the ring and was legitimate.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I'm hoping we get one more match out of Kurt. He could be the guy that beats Brock Lesnar, because they've had classics in the past.
Isn't Kurt still wrestling?
He is. He just wrestled last week.
So it's not like he's not wrestling.
No. Like, I'm assuming they're gonna, like, he's back with the company. I don't know if he's on a long-term deal or not.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are saying that he will most likely be the general manager of Raw, because there is no general manager now since Mick Foley got fired.
I don't mind that, but I
don't mind that either, but, hopefully it leads to a match, because that's how you get heat. Kurt can actually, unlike Shane, Kurt's a wrestler. There you go. So that's fantastic. I think everyone in this year's Hall of Fame was well-deserved. A couple guys that were overdue, like the Rock and Roll Express and Rick Rude, who are way overdue. There was rumors that William Regal was supposed to go in this year, but he didn't. That's actually announced by some not-so-credible wrestling news websites that he was going
Dirt sheets.
Not even dirt sheets. Like there's... Like, in politics, there's fake news.
Of course.
And wrestling, there's faker news. It's insane. Lots of clickbait. Like, because I get, like, on my Facebook page, like, that shit comes up all the time. And it says, oh, so-and-so has a sex tape. And it's like, oh, who? Oh, it's China had a sex tape fucking 12 years ago. I was like,
Harvey Whippleman.
Harvey liked the big chicks, from what I understand.
And he laying the pipe, from what I hear.
Yeah. He liked full-figured women. God bless
Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Just like to curl up and just sleep in there. I don't tell you. That's just the reality of the situation, folks.
Oh,
yeah, what are you gonna do? But like I said, everyone in the Hall of Fame this year, well deserved. We didn't have any Mr. T moments.
What does that mean?
Oh, you must have not seen the Mr. T induction speech that he had, where he thanked his mama the entire time for like 35 minutes, it felt like.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Hey guys, have you not seen the Mr. T induction? YouTube it or something. Try to find it, because it is cringe-worthy. And he's one celebrity that deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. And speaking of celebrities, we did not get any this year.
Good.
I was hoping for RoboCop.
Oh, no.
RoboCop, Cab Calloway, Bob Uecker.
Uecker's not in? I think Uecker's already in.
You'll make me look.
Bring him back. I'm pretty sure he was inducted at first with him. Like, it was all WrestleMania 1 folks, wasn't it?
Liberace's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he is. It says Midnight Rider, but that's Liberace, I'm telling you.
Yeah, you're right. He was inducted in 2010. All right, so put Susan St. James in there. Or Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg.
Pee Wee Herman.
What about Hugh Jackman? He broke Dolph's jaw.
Could be. I mean, it only takes one appearance to make it into Celebrity Hall of Fame, so
apparently
that's the criteria. So, yeah, so there you go. Should be Jenna Jameson. She did appear in the Val Venus videos.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Which is, those videos, by the way, were filmed in Bruce Pitcher's house.
Excellent.
Because, talk about Championship Wrestling from Florida.
Oh, and a little follow-up to a previous episode.
Oh, yeah?
We talked about ICW.
Yes.
I sent a tweet to Rip Rogers asking if he knew of a database, and he said he didn't know of one. He just had stuff he had on his own.
I'm surprised that Rip Rogers knows how to use Twitter.
Oh, he's phenomenal on Twitter.
Really?
If you can follow him, pull him up. He's one of my favorite follows on Twitter. Is a coach with OVW, or what are they calling it nowadays? It's a Florida group. But he is a really good trainer. He reminds me a lot of Killer Kowalski.
Okay.
And he will go on these rants at like 3 in the morning. He goes to the gym and works out like fiendishly. It's actually his dad just died the other day. And I felt bad for him. But he goes on fantastic rants about like just basic wrestling terminology as far as like, mindsets, thinking, how you perform, psychology. He is Hustler2754 on Twitter. So at Hustler, that's Rip Rogers. I highly recommend that as a follow, especially if you're someone who wants to be a pro wrestler.
My fondest memory of Rip Rogers is his appearance on Battle Bowl. So there you go. Go ahead and watch that. So Championship Wrestling from Florida, since this live event, this closed circuit event will be taking place from Orlando, Florida. We're going to talk about Eddie Graham's Championship Wrestling from Florida. It was founded in 1949. The original owner and promoter was Cowboy Luttrell, who was the architect of the Boys Ranch, which is basically they took young boys who were in the prison system and taught them how to wrestle and try to give them a new lease on life. Cowboy Luttrell was well known because he had a boxing match with Jack Dempsey. That was a wrestling angle. Apparently, the Cowboy took a severe beating, although it was worked. Jack Dempsey was very involved in professional wrestling, whether it be doing wrestler versus boxers matches or refereeing wrestling matches outright. The Cowboy opened up the office in 1949. He brought Eddie Graham in 1961. Eddie Graham had been working in New York. The Graham brothers of like Jerry Graham, Luke Graham, Eddie Graham eventually. Billy Graham being the youngest of the Graham brothers. So the CWF, as it was called, was a member of the National Wrestling Alliance. Eddie Graham had served 2 terms as NWA president. Every once in a while they have other world championships depending on where his stance was with the alliance at the time. I guess the first big star you would consider would be Jack Briscoe. Jack Briscoe was the lead babyface for Florida for an extended period of time. And he had these great feuds with just about everyone, but most notably Dory Funk Jr. and Terry Funk, to the point where anytime the Funks would come into Florida, they'd be the heels. Anytime the Briscoes went into Amarillo, they would be the heels. So it's kind of like that American, like the Bret thing in the Attitude Era.
Okay.
So that was really good. It's funny to see, like, one week I'm a heel, next week I'm a babyface, and that kind of dynamic. And they would cut promos, to really reflect that. And the Funks would come, if the Funks lost the World Tag Team titles or whatever, or the whatever championship they had at the time, they're like, oh, those people over in Florida, they screwed us, blah, 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 blah. And then, Briscoes would say the same thing with the text. It was awesome. So early on, I mean, they had, obviously, they had the NWA World Champion at the time, Lou Thesz, Gene Knitsky, Don Curtis, Sam Steamboat, the Great Malenko, Johnny Valentine, Hiro Matsuda, Bob Orton, Senior, Chief J. Strumbo, Wahoo McDaniel, obviously the Funks, the Briscoes, Buddy Colt. And then as they go through the process, they would get guys like Dusty Rhodes and Barry Windham, Mike Rotunda, Mike Graham, Kevin Sullivan, and then we saw a very, very early on, at the time a very young Lex Luger, who came out of Florida Championship. But if you're going to talk Florida, you got to talk about Dusty Rhodes. Mm-hmm. Dusty Rhodes was the king of Florida. Now the big face turn for Dusty. Now Dusty was getting momentum. He was a heel, but he was getting positive reactions in the crowd. Back when they listened to crowd reactions, not unlike today when they don't listen to crowd reactions.
Right.
They knew that the villainous Dusty Rhodes would eventually have to turn babyface. So in a match where it was Gary Hart with Pak Song Nam and Dusty Rhodes who were fighting the Grahams, eventually Nam hit Dusty with the big chop. Dusty gets mad and beats everyone's ass. And the American Dream was born. So at that point, Dusty would have, feuds with whatever stalwarts they would have at the time. Would be Billy Graham or Ray Stevens or Ernie Ladd, Ivan Koloff, Ox Baker, Ron Bass, so on and so forth. Until like this kind of the second generation of CWF talent, like the Windhams and Rotunda, they would get Blackjack, Mulligan to come in. But then the big feud happens for Dusty, and that's the feud with Kevin Sullivan, the goddamn devil himself. And he did so many amazing things. They did a thing where they did This Is Your Life with Dusty Rhodes. and they fly in Dusty's sister, Kevin Sullivan. Like everyone after the event, it's basically like The Rock and Mick Foley one, but
Yeah.
on the level, not trying to be funny. And like all the baby faces come out to congratulate Dusty and celebrate with Dusty, and then Kevin Sullivan comes out and throws ink in Dusty Rhodes' sister's eyes, blinding her. And so they go on to have a feud with that. At some point, Kevin Sullivan defeats Dusty Rhodes in a loser leave towns match, and then we see the emergence of the Midnight Rider. The Midnight Rider is fantastic, by the way. So, you guys, if you haven't looked up the Midnight Rider, please do that at your leisure. You'll find some really good stuff. And they did the angle, which is an amazing angle. The NWA had a rule that masked men could not be world champion.
Yeah.
So they did a thing where Dusty beats Flair for the NWA World Championship. And so Dusty Rhodes defeats Ric Flair for the NWA World title. I believe it was Jim Crockett at the time that, or it might have been Bob Geigel, who came out and says, you don't have to show the people who you are underneath the mask, but you have to show the NWA board. And if they would have figured out, and if it would have came out that Dusty Rhodes was the Midnight Rider, he would be banned from wrestling for life, so he had to hand the belt back to Flair.
Oh. Not for life.
So, Matt, what are your thoughts on the Championship Wrestling from Florida, or CWF as they called it?
Oh, a lot of fun. And, you know, it's one of those things that I read a lot about the results from there, and I really enjoyed it, you know, as a fan, just reading about it. And I've watched, videos over the years.
They would have the Super Bowl wrestling every once in a while, and that was Harley Race versus Billy Graham, who was WWF champion at the time. Harley Race would be NWA champion at the time. And those were really fun. They didn't draw in terms of a whole lot in terms of, well, it goes back to what we said on an earlier show, that if the fans don't think that one of the two participants is going to win both belts, then it kind of ruins the illusion of this match.
Right. Didn't they always end in draws or double counts?
There are always draws. No one's ever won. I think the first time we had the two world champions unified was with Jericho.
Wow.
Ever. And that was, 2001? And it never happened. The same thing happened when they would do NWA, AWA matches, or it was always a fucking shit show. We're going to go over the roster of Championship Wrestling from Florida. These are their notable stars. They had Abdul the Butcher, Johnny Ace, Bill Alfonso, Bad News Allen, Lars Anderson, Andre the Giant, Brad Armstrong, Steve Armstrong, the Assassin, Norville Austin, Ox Baker, the Barbarian, Jesse Barr, Black Bart, Ron Bass, Red Bastien, Brian Blair, Nick Bockwinkel, Bubba Razil, Jack Briscoe, Jared Briscoe, Bruiser Brody, Bad Leroy Brown, Haystacks Calhoun, Ray Candy, Chris Champion, the Cuban Assassin, Buddy Colt, Bob Cook, Charlie Cook, Bill Crude, Phil Crude, J.J. Dillon, Derek Draper, Jim Duggan, Bobby Duncombe, Eric the Red, Fallen Angel, Manny Fernandez, Robert Fuller, Ron Fuller, Dory Funk, Terry Funk, Ed the Bull Gantner.
Oh.
Awful wrestler, by the way.
Ed Gantner.
Jimmy Garvin, Mike George, Rene Goulet, Eddie Graham, Mike Graham, Superstar Billy Graham, Jerry Gray, Chavo Guerrero, Hector Guerrero, Playboy Gary Hart, Jack Hart, which was Barry Horowitz, Rip Hawk, Lord Alfred Hayes, Billy Jack Haynes, Hercules Hernandez, Mr. Hito, Hulk Hogan, Sir Oliver Humperdinck, Rick Hunter, Curtis Iaukea, The Infernos, The Super Destroyer, Bobby Jaggers, Rocky Johnson, Kabuki.
Bobby Jaggers!
Yeah, he's awesome. Kansas Jayhawks, buddy.
Yeah.
With Dutch Mantel. Steve Kern, Killer Khan, Crusher Khrushchev, Sonny King, Dennis Knight, Brian Dobbs, Ivan Koloff, Killer Carl Cox, Killer Carl Krupp, Ernie Ladd, Stan Lane, Joe LeDuc, Mark Lewin, The Missing Link, El Lobo, Jose Lothario, Lex Luger, Boris Malenko, Hiro Matsuda, Wahoo, McDaniels, Scott McGee, Bugsy McGraw, Butch from the Bushwhackers, the Missouri Mauler, the Medics, Pedro Morales, Angelo Mosca, Blackjack, Mulligan, Don Morocco, Rocket Monroe, Sputnik Monroe, Dick Murdoch, the White Ninja, also known as the Great Muda, Kendo Nagasaki, Jim Neidhart, Larry O'Day, One Man Gang, Bob Orton Jr., Pat Patterson, Thunderbolt Patterson, Al Perez, Percy Pringle, Paul Bearer, Harley Race, Butch Reed, Dusty Rhodes, Jake Roberts, Billy Robinson, Mark Youngblood, Jay Youngblood, Bob Root, Mike Rotunda, Sean Royal, Rick Rude, Jerry Saggs, Mr. Saito, Buzz Sawyer, Bobby Shane, Iron Mike Sharp, The Sheik, Ron Simmons, Dick Slater, Alexis Smirnoff, Tracy Smothers, Adrian Street, Jay Strongbro, John Studd, The Spoiler, Paksong Nam, The Magnolian Stomper, Kevin Sullivan, Abudideen, which is a manager, Sweet Brown Sugar, Magnum TA, Cowboy Butch Taylor, The Terminator, Blue Thunder, Buzz Tyler, Tarzan Tyler, Luna Vachon, Johnny Valentine, Greg Valentine, Jimmy Valiant, Johnny Valiant, Nikolai Volkov, The Von Brauners, David Von Erich, Baron Von Vashke, Coco Beware, Bill Watts, Pez Watley, Luke Williams, Barry Windham, Kendall Windham, who is the skinniest man on the face of the planet back then. Holy shit. Like, you thought Sam Houston was fucking skinny? Kendall Windham had to be twice as skinny as Sam Houston.
One of the best Jim Cornette lines ever is, I took a picture of Kendall Windham, hung it behind my fish tank, teased my fish. Oh, Jim Cornette.
Buddy Wolf, Mr. Wrestling 2, Scott Hall, Bill Dundee, Ric Flair, Buddy Fuller, the Mod Squad, who sucked.
Oh, boy.
Dallas Page, and Mike Davis. They were all notable alumnus from the CWF. Currently, the library is owned by the WWE Network. So there you go. Not a whole lot of shows available on the network, but you do get to see some gems every once in a while. There are more available on YouTube, so you definitely check it out on YouTube if you're so inclined. The Kevin Sullivan stuff is fantastic with his, minions and his group. It would be Bob Roop and the Purple Haze and Luna Vachon and Fallen Angel, which is Woman, and Superstar Billy Graham. Superstar Billy Graham cuts this great promo. Superstar was heel, but he's just turned babyface. And he wants to get the evil out of his blood. He needs to get the evil out of his body. So we go to a video of him tied to the ground in Arizona with scorpions all over his body, and they're gonna suck the evilness from his soul.
Oh boy!
So there you go. So Dusty Rhodes is wrestling Jesus is not a far stretch. Satanism was big back in the early '80s, from what I understand. Do you remember like a lot of Satanist cults out there in the early 80s?
Oh, it was a big media thing. All the heavy metal bands were Satanists, and
everyone was they loved Satan in the 80s.
Yeah.
That's fucking weird. What are you gonna do? So obviously this is a big, when it comes to Kevin Sullivan, and he never said that he was the devil. He said he worshipped a Buddha Deen, which doesn't mean anything. And he was more of like the dark arts from like Cambodia and Thailand and Malaysia, because he spent time over there. Because he wrestled for the Polynesian wrestling, and would spend time over there in Tibet, and that kind of stuff. It's Kevin Sullivan, who was at the Hall of Fame ceremony tonight. I saw him in the background. I'll say it now. I'll say it 1,000 times. They should really bring Kevin Sullivan into the WWE and have an interaction with Bray Wyatt. Now this is back when Bray was a heel. So my idea was, you have Bray the heel, you have Sullivan come in, and Sullivan looks up to the heavens and says, "Blackjack, I finally got one of your own." Obviously, Bray Wyatt is the grandson of Blackjack Mulligan, and then we can have like Mike Rotunda, who still works for the WWE, and you can have Bo Dallas come out. You can have Barry Windham, who is now currently, if you've seen the recent pictures of Barry Windham, is the spitting image of Blackjack Mulligan. And this is how you make the return back for Cody Rhodes. Because now you have Cody Rhodes, who's going to fight the man who's supposed to be part of his family, but now he's with Sullivan, and you have the Sullivan deal. That would work. And it's like, you have Sullivan cutting promos, and the ghost of the American Dream is no longer here, and that kind of stuff. And you can do some really heavy stuff, and I think people will really get behind it, instead of having Bray, who still has a run left as a heel, before you make him into full-on the replacement for The Undertaker.
Yeah.
He still has a long way to go to that point. Hell, even The Undertaker turned into the devil at some point.
Yeah.
When he was crucifying Stephanie McMahon on his symbol, which is weird.
Yeah.
So any final thoughts on Florida Championship Wrestling. Now I'll say this, that Florida Championship Wrestling, if you're watching their TVs, Florida Championship Wrestling reminds me a lot of the current WWE product in terms of the feel of it. Not saying that the current product is good because they don't have any heat. That goes into a whole other discussion about why modern wrestling has no heat. But just in terms of the show itself, now obviously Championship Wrestling begot Memphis Wrestling, who begot ECW, and when the WWE kind of transitioned from the Attitude Era, they changed the format of the show, and that's basically how we got the show today, the way it is in its current incarnation. Although I wish they would get away from the 25-minute opening promo, because I want to punch myself in the face when they do those. So, Matt, any final thoughts on Championship Wrestling from Florida?
No, just check it out and enjoy it.
So, again, guys, this is our big closed-circuit event. It's called Kingdom Come. Again, Florida being the Magic Kingdom. Dusty Rhodes is coming back to defend his kingdom against the invader, the devil himself, Kevin Sullivan. So, I think the name is appropriate. And at the end of the show, I'm going to give the results a little bit early, but it's a cage match with Kevin Sullivan versus Dusty Rhodes for the NWA Television Championship. And the computer had Kevin Sullivan winning, which I was shocked. So in my head, I'm like, okay, how do I make this work in terms of Kevin Sullivan beating the American Dream? And obviously you would have, it's the old cage. So it's like, it's a Hell in a Cell, essentially. So the cage is Hell in a Cell. So you would have, whatever minions hiding underneath the ring. The purple haze heads like stick out of the ring, and they beat up Dusty in the cage. And 1, 2, 3, Sullivan wins the belts. They obliterate Dusty in the ring. They leave him in a pool of his own blood, knocked out, whatever.
Right.
Knowing that we're going to have a return match in our Atlantic City show, it's been a couple of weeks. Obviously, Dusty's going to get stretchered out, very similar to the way he got beat up by the Horsemen, and the Horsemen kind of came together and beat the shit out of Dusty Rhodes. But I think the promo for Dusty's return would go something to the effect of Kevin Sullivan tried to murder the American Dream, but Kevin Sullivan, the American Dream, can never die. So on the 7th day, Kevin Sullivan, the American Dream, will be resurrected to whoop your ass. And then we go off to our next show. And Dusty would cut that promo 100 times better than I could ever cut a promo in my entire life.
Yeah.
But it'd be something to that effect, that they try to kill the American Dream will never die, and when I get resurrected, I'm going to come and beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
That's essentially what we're saying here. And then we'll go from there. Although Kevin Sullivan does have to defend the television championship against Ricky Steamboat when we go back to Charlotte, so that's 2 shows from now because we go to Puerto Rico first. But so what are your thoughts on that concept and if you're ever using pseudo religion in this angle, and this is 1983, I'm pretty sure you can get away with that. Do you think you can get away with that?
Today?
Not today.
Oh, back then? Yeah, totally. I think it's totally cool to do that.
Because, Eddie Graham would do all this fucking crazy shit, but he was big into charities and was a man around town. So, the wrestling company was always the babyface, and you had these crazy heels. The heat was on them instead of the wrestling company.
Yeah.
So that's why they would do stuff like, so-and-so has to leave for 90 days because they did some heinous act. They would have fucking suspensions, and they would usually go like, they're going somewhere to work for a little bit. But on a sad note, Super Bowl Sunday, January 1985, this a couple months before WrestleMania, Eddie Graham committed suicide. Now, they said there was a lot of different reasons. He had personal issues. He had some business issues. I think he had issues with his construction company. His wrestling company was losing money. It's 2 different things when it comes to, I guess, some of these promoters like shoot businesses and the wrestling businesses. They're kind of different. Like Jerry Jarrett owned auxiliary business outside of wrestling, so did the Crockett's and that kind of stuff. So eventually, Championship Wrestling Florida was sold to WCW. Actually, it was showed the Jim Crockett promotion, and that was in 1987. They were merged, but it was a sale. I'm pretty sure that Crockett had ripped off Mike Graham for whatever remaining amount of money that he needed to secure ownership. Although I feel that Jim Crockett Promotions didn't run Florida all that much, and it wasn't until Turner took over when they started running Florida more regularly.
Yeah.
Even that's kind of Florida's a weird area for wrestling. There's so much wrestling concentrated in Florida currently that if I was a independent promoter or if I had inherited millions of dollars, I would stay as far away from Florida as humanly possible. I would go set up shop like in Portland or in somewhere else, southern Michigan, Ohio, some of these other areas that may have not gotten. They may not get as much wrestling as Florida because all the indies run down there, and they get WrestleManias every 4 or 5 years. And they have NXT down there currently, so it's a lot. Impact Wrestling is there. I mean, it's just very concentrated there. That's probably because has to do with maybe the commission, maybe they don't have an athletic commission, maybe they don't pay taxes down there. That's why they run down there so regularly.
Makes sense.
So that is Championship Wrestling from Florida in a nutshell. And Matt, you just touched on something that I was having a conversation with one of my buddies earlier today about professional wrestling. And he's referring to the Attitude Era, late 90s. And he's like, I like wrestling so much better when it wasn't so PC.
Right.
And I'm trying to figure out what he means by that because I don't understand the statement. During the Attitude Era, there wasn't nothing overtly offensive.
I was thinking about it. I think maybe he just meant that wrestling wasn't as guarded, violence from one point of view, but also the angles were more legit. They didn't feel canned and the real heat, so to speak, between the players.
Well, that has to do with being politically correct because you can say a lot of stuff on their current television isn't necessarily politically correct. Breezango being an example of that. But I don't think anything was overtly offensive. Would it be if you want to look at wrestling in the early 80s into the mid 80s, they said some wild stuff. I mean, there was a scenario where we hear Jesse Ventura on camera, and he's having a cage match with Tony Atlas, and he says, "I don't want to be in a ring. I want to be in a cage with that black monkey." We had Greg Valentine cut racist type promos. We had Hakeem the African Dream, and we had a lot of more stereotypes back then than we did in the Attitude Era. We don't think we had much in terms of stereotypes during the Attitude Era. Minus maybe Kindside, but that was more of a comedy bit than anything else and not really offensive.
Right.
The big difference between today's wrestling and Attitude Era wrestling has nothing to do with being PG, being PC, or I think people have that particularly wrong. Bad wrestling is bad wrestling. Anyway, you cut it up, and there was a lot of bad wrestling going on during the Attitude Era. Let's not get it twisted there.
Yeah.
The show was very exciting, but what the Attitude Era stuff had that the current product doesn't have is the violence.
Yeah.
Violence is not necessarily being politically correct because Impact has more violence than WWE, but their show is still shitty. Oh, they'll make Impact great again. I'm sure of it.
That's right.
They had they sold a lot of sex on that show, which is fine to a degree, but
right.
If I want to look at half-naked chicks, I'd rather look at naked chicks and go on the internet and watch porn, so they'll chuck that out the window. And then you had the language. To be honest, there wasn't a lot of curses on WWF television at any time. Throw that shit out the window. Wrestling is missing violence. And I don't mean work rate in the ring violence. I mean, when's the last time you see someone get hit by a car, thrown through a window? Although we just had a scenario where I believe Shane and AJ Styles just did that. But I don't watch Raw because I get that. Well, I've been SmackDown, but I must have missed it. There's not a lot of overt violence. There's no man-on-woman violence on television at all. I have recommended that they need to get some heat for that Miz John Cena angle. It may involve Nikki Bella getting hit in the head with a chair or getting hurt in some way, and you don't have to do it where the Miz did it on purpose. It could be an accident where John Cena goes to throw him out and he lands on top of her, and you can do it incidental violence there. And,
I could see that could be a finish where Cena carries her to the back, a la Hogan, Elizabeth, and Miz and Marie stay in the ring to win by countout. He's taking care of her because Nikki's pregnant. Dun dun dun.
And obviously, and talking pregnancies, they're not going to do an abortion angle because that's just in poor taste. It was in poor taste during the Attitude Era. It's in poor taste today.
Mae Young gave birth to a fist.
But was that good in terms of the overall wrestling product? Yeah, it's cute and it's funny. It's like Katie Vick. It's that has nothing to do about being politically correct or being PG. I mean, that's just stupid.
Right.
It's funny, it's cute. If you want to do a one-off, that's fine. But I'm not saying that wrestling has to be super serious either, because it doesn't. But I don't understand why people want to go back to the choppy PP and we're gonna piss on the on the Disciple Apocalypse bikes. Big show on his dad's casket getting fucking dragged by the Big Boss Man. And Big Boss Man feeding Al Snow's dog Pepper to Al Snow. And some of the more wrestle crap stuff. Like, I don't understand why people want to go back to that. Now, their current product today is a descendant from the Ring of Honor style. Just with a lot more talking. But there's nothing for them to talk about because they either don't know or can't figure out how to do angles. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Randy Orton just murdered people on TV like fucking 3 weeks ago. Did he burn down something like 3 weeks ago?
He burned down a building.
Okay.
It's fine.
He's definitely an arsonist and should be going to prison.
Yes.
That's something straight out of the Attitude Era playbook. But you're not getting any heat because you don't have any violence.
Right.
And if you want to talk about, but it has nothing to do with being politically correct. Now, I have strong feelings on political correctness. Personally, I want to be clear on. To me, for me personally, political correct is not for my feelings. That you're going to say perhaps a racial slur or you're going to say something mean to me. What political correctness does for me, it stops you from saying something stupid to me so I don't have to whoop your ass. Because I'll fight you in the street. I don't care. If you're going to call me a wetback or a spick or something like that, I will punch you in the face as hard as I can. I don't care about going there. I just want to be clear on that. So, who does politically correctness help? Me? Or the stupid racist person who's going to say a racial slur at me? It helps them. It keeps them away from getting an ass whooping. That's what I don't understand.
Punch a Nazi, make a difference.
Like, one of the examples I used was apparently, allegedly, I don't know how true this is, when Hugh Morris was a trainer down in developmental, he may or may not called one of the black wrestlers the N-word. And my buddy got mad because like, it's political correctness. I'm like, no, it's not. Right. It has nothing to do about being PC and the reason he got fired. When you're in a position of authority over someone, you can't call them a racial slur because they cannot retaliate towards you. Now, if you want to say the same racial slur to the same 6'6" black dude on the street, that's a different scenario. You can say what you want to say, but there's going to be a consequence of repercussion to that. You most likely will get your ass whooped. But if you're in charge of their job and they need something from you, that's being oppressive. Because you know that for a fact that you can say whatever you want, and this guy's not going to do anything back to him. And that's where I guess we disagree. But I'll probably continue this conversation on Sunday when I see him for WrestleMania. PC is a buzzword. Like fake news. They're all buzzwords. They don't mean anything. Although one of my favorite movies of all time is PCU. You ever seen PCU?
Yes.
It's a good flick. I like that movie. Because it does show some of the hypocrisy of the stringent, extreme PC crowd. Yeah, it's funny. If you have anyone seen PCU, I think that would be very helpful in today's society to make sure we're getting back on track on kind of understanding what's offensive, what is not offensive, and what's reasonable complaints and just whining for no reason. Although I choose to believe that most people on the internet are not real people because we currently live in a troll culture. Now, the troll culture has been around on the internet for a while, but when someone is trolling, your 55-year-old father on Facebook, he doesn't get it. And a lot of people that are now on the computer, that they're now on the internet, that haven't been on the internet for the last 30 years or so, and was never on a message board before, doesn't know how it works or what trolls are, and people just fucking they don't really even. They don't agree or disagree with your opinion. They're just fucking with you and trying to get you mad.
Yeah.
They're trying to ruin your day, and that's the culture of it. It's what they call flame wars and that kind of shit. Your average soccer mom is not going to understand what that is, and they don't think that the world's full of idiots, which that may or may not be true. If you're listening to the show, you're most likely not an idiot. You're a very smart person.
That's right.
But that's the world we live in, and that has to be addressed at some point. But what are you going to do? Not going to be addressed on. All right, so we are officially out of time. Our next show will be another cornucopia of pro wrestling action throughout the entire NWA, kind of a best of NWA series as we get ready for our next big closed circuit event. This will be live from Ponce, Puerto Rico. Matt, what do you think the main event for that show is going to be?
Oh,
Puerto Rico was 1983.
Carlos Colon.
Obviously, versus
Harley Race.
for the NWA World Title. We'll see that in 2 weeks, folks. I wonder if Race wins, he would have to get off the island as soon as possible because they'll try to kill him. Although Terry Funk called all Puerto Ricans pigs, and he didn't die.
Oh,
Puerto Ricans like to cut people. That's true. I know, because I like to cut people. That's a true statement. All right, guys, so we're officially out of time. So for Matt Riley, I'm Lex G. Have a good night.